Hello, everyone. It's Andy here, coming to you from the United Kingdom again.
And on the other side of the pond, you've got me, Scott, in the Great White North, and that is true to form today. There's a lot of snow outside.
It's wonderful, wonderful time of year for that. And this is the T and Timbits podcast, global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. This week, we'll be talking about target market analysis, and we will make it sound a lot more exciting than I just did. But before we get into that, Scott, do you have an original story for us that I haven't heard several times before?
Yes, I've been telling this story a little bit, and I thought I would share it with everybody else who tunes in. So both of you, listen up. It's not really like a lot of times when we sort of do these stories, it's kind of a little nugget of wisdom we try to dispense from a bit of our own experience and whatnot. I'm not sure there's a lot of wisdom in this one, just kind of an interesting, fun anecdote. But I will sort of say that it is an endorsement, again, for the benefits of showing up in person and having in-person meetings. You can be very efficient and productive on video. And I think everybody understands that and even appreciates that and prefers that quite often. We just need to get some work done and whatnot. But you're getting to meet a prospect, you're in a business development situation. There's a lot of groundwork you can lay in. You can establish some parameters going back and forth virtually to begin with, but there's no replacement for being in that room. And that was just as much the case when I was in Chicago last week, and we had a really good, engaging conversation. You can just read the room and understand like who's excited by what you're saying, who's leaning on every word, so to speak, and who are the detractors, who's sitting back in their chair a little bit more, who's kind of sitting with their arms crossed, who's spending more time checking their email on their mobile phone than sort of engaging with the presentation. And I think that you one of the roles of the other people that you bring with you, so it's always helpful to have more than just yourself in these situations, even if the other person is not a big contributor to the conversation. I used to think that, if they don't have something to say, then don't bring them along at all. But you find a way for them to introduce themselves and make sure that, you could even say, listen, I'm here to absorb and listen in and just make sure we capture the notes. That person can have a tremendous impact on helping you read the room. Making sure that you're not engaging too much with the enthusiastic group, because that might push the detractors further away. Make sure you're not giving too much credence to those detractors and letting their concerns overwhelm the opportunity to say the full message. So I think that it's important when you're doing this to make sure that, as much as you can, have another individual with you. So that's I guess the sort of nugget I wanted to share. But then the fun part, which was not so fun afterwards, was there was actually 4 of us presenting that were on our side of the table. 2 of us from Boston, 2 of us from Toronto, two folks from Boston. We've come out of the 3-hour presentation, and everybody's flights have been canceled. There's some air traffic restrictions going on in the United States right now, and we had all been affected. So it was a quick scramble. Chicago's not that far away from Toronto. I had to be back for some family obligations. So my business partner and I quickly rented a car, and within an hour and a half of the presentation ending, we were on the road to get back to Toronto, which was quite a nice drive. And we did most of it in the dark. So it was kind of one of those things that just kind of throws you for a loop, and you got to take it all in stride.
It's a smart approach, isn't it? As you say, I think in those situations, those hire car companies suddenly start putting up their prices and reducing their availability to.
Well, I went down to pick up the car and it was packed. And I was like, oh, of course, like everybody's trying to do this. Everybody's having a problem. And I went, but I had done it on the app right away and reserved it and whatnot. So I could walk right up to the garage where, you can just, they take your order and pull your car up. And I said, wow, like pretty busy. Like, is everybody's flight? And he's like, what? he had no idea about the flight disruptions. It was purely because there was a huge hockey tournament happening in Chicago, as well as, you know, people coming in just before sort of the NFL game on the weekend and things like that. So
Wow, just a coincidence.
a normal busy day at Chicago O'Hare. I've never actually not seen that be the case. So
fair enough. Well, now we'll be talking about the total addressable market or target market analysis. we'll get back to that.
Well, those are two different related
The
things.
reason I mentioned that is because while you were talking, I was thinking about, you know, the target market analysis. What is that most companies do? And they do go for that total addressable market. Yeah. And that is the biggest problem, in my opinion, because that's the thing that causes the pipeline to be thin, because you're trying to spread yourself everywhere and try and capture everything. But target market analysis, it's more about precision, I suppose, isn't it? Is, you know, finding those few segments that where you can win repeatedly at the right margins, and then just, you know, repeating that. And but finding that and doing that analysis to identify that is the good thing. It's not just going, oh yeah, well, CEOs of companies of this size, they're the people who we need to be talking to.
Yeah, you know, very, very, very good point. And I think that is the benefit of being a little bit more intentional about your target market analysis, is because for some businesses are lucky, and the total addressable market is like they can count it on their fingers, or at least in a manageable spreadsheet. I think for you know, many other businesses, it's almost an infinite market size by relative measure. I mean, the number of you know, customers in the world that need a website in our situation is literally infinite, right? They keep popping up. So the target market analysis is a really important part, if we're wrapping it into the theme for November of forecasting and pipeline management, of trying to be precise about who you are going to try and serve. And it is very easy to do this in a superficial, you know, performative way, like we were saying on the last episode, and feel like you've checked the box, or you've kind of delivered, like, oh yeah, I know that it's professionals who earn this much income or work in this kind of field or whatnot who buy our product. Well, sure, but that's still maybe slightly smaller than the total addressable market. I think the key here is to be as rigorous and insightful as you can about specifying. There's a threshold where this is kind of like how long is a piece of a string problem. Like, you could go, you know, into a distracting amount of detail to define your target market. So, but you can benefit tremendously by being really specific about saying, well, what differentiates the CMO at one business from the CMO at another? And I don't know. I mean, I have some thoughts on how to start this process, but, you know, what's your take on that, Andy?
I think the way to start this is to ask yourself the question, you know, in which 2 to 3 segments can you win in the next 12 months repeatedly at those target margins? And if you can't answer that in one sentence, then you haven't done your target market analysis, and you don't know what your target market is, and you're still looking at the total addressable market. And I think doing the research to figure out those, you know, that very simple question, really, you know, which segments, repeated sales, and at the right margins. If you can answer that, then you have a target market, and that's where you focus your time and your effort, and that's where you build your plan. I'm
going to pick up on something that you probably was implied by what you said, but I'll put a point on it, is, and I think I've made this mistake before, is I really like that definition that you just shared. It's where can you win? And that is not always the same as where you have previously won.
No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was going to make the point that, like, well, you start this process by looking at where you've had success in the past, and then you use that as your model for, what is similar and how would I describe, those areas of success, which I still think is a good way to do it. But I like then layering in your filter of, yeah, but what's that industry doing right now? What are some of the economic pressures? Where are they all at in their buying cycle? What are some of the trends that may or may not accelerate or decelerate the momentum in that particular industry? Therefore, is it the right one? Where else can we actually find people who are budgeting for what I provide?
Exactly that. And that's sort of how, so once you sort of ask that question at the beginning, then breaking that down to then analyze those markets and identify those segments. You've got one thing you mentioned there is there reason to buy at the moment? So, has there been a trigger event? Is there a sense of urgency? Has something happened? Have some regulations changed? Things like that are triggering someone to need your solution right now.
Yeah.
But also, you've got to understand, is this segment willing to pay for what we provide as well? Because they may have an urgent need for it, but if they're not willing to part with the money to solve that problem, right, or they're still too far stuck in the past and they're not willing to make those changes quickly, it's going to be a lot harder sale. And so, not only is that sort of urgency, that willingness to pay, but I think where they fit in your sales cycle. I mean, if you're comfortable spending 12 months chasing a sale, because that's the model that works for your business.
Nurturing a sale.
Yeah. Nurturing a sale. That's right. But that's fine. I mean, if that's part of your planning horizon for your sales cycle, then that's absolutely okay. But if your sales cycle is monthly or quarterly, but it's going to take you 6 months or 12 months to close the sale, then is it really a repeatable, reliable segment that you should be targeting?
Right.
The other thing that neither of us have said yet, and I've only just thought about, is, do we have the ability to deliver to that market in that timeline? And that's the other thing as well. I mean, because you may have a pipeline of sales and sales opportunities and deliverables within your business, and then you look at the target market and they're going, we are primed and ready to have your product and solution, but we need it in the next 4 weeks.
Right.
And if you're not able to deliver that, then it's not a part of your target market.
Yeah, totally. I want to add the other endorsement here for leveraging AI to help you with this process. So it does a wonderful job of helping you figure out those more specific lanes and certain characteristics. You can use it as a thought partner. You can kind of turn it into exploration mode just by using a prompt to explain to it that, I want some help developing some target audience profiles here, but I need you to, be curious with me and ask me questions, so that you're not just kind of giving it an input and asking it for a more succinct write-up, because it's going to be so eloquent about everything that it provides. You're going to feel great about every description and target market definition that it comes up with. So be careful not to let yourself be led too quickly, and too overly influenced by that outcome. Make sure that you're asking for it to sort of critique your target market with you, and to help you understand the nuances and differences between the same kind of buyer that in one case is eager and in the other case is hesitant or resistant. You'll find some of that clarity very easily using AI. Then you can also use it to do more in-depth research on the industry or the target market that you're talking about. What are some of the longer term market trends and behaviors that have existed? Because the history predicts the future and things like that. It's not so good at understanding very immediate, recent current pressures and influences.
Okay.
It can now, search the web and whatnot, but you got to be very specific in your prompting to get that benefit unlocked. But to use it as a tool for identifying target markets is a very powerful option. And then you can also do the thing where you're like, well, this is where I have found success before, and I know it has slowed down there. So describe that target market to the AI and say, now I'm having trouble getting traction in this market. What parallel markets might you suggest, which would be more have a transferable understanding for me that might be more eager to engage right now. And it's just a great brainstorming thought partner for this kind of an exercise.
Yeah, sort of a sparring partner. Because that's the thing. I mean, I've listened to a lot to your AI praise and guidance. It's been very good and very helpful. And I'm yet to embrace it properly. But one of the things I've heard about the challenges with AI is its programming for positive affirmation. So
yes.
You say, well, what about this idea? Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, but what about that idea? Well, that's also a very good idea.
Yeah,
like, come on,
like, really?
I want you to challenge me here. It's like,
you asked the best questions. I'm like,
exactly.
Just wanted to know how to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So I think being aware of that and finding a way around that is potentially good. But as you say, using it as a sparring partner, not a content creator, is a smart way.
Well, it's good at that too. But that in this context, that's what you want to unlock.
I just feel that once you've got these segments in place, and I'm not going to go too much in depth for it, but I think it is very important that you are very clear on the definition of not only what the segment is, but who within that segment, who are the main people that you're going to be targeting, so it's not just the target market. So you've got to funnel that down as well, right down to the individual, and identify who specifically is part of your target market as well.
Well, and I want to make sure we're making a clear distinction here that what we're describing, I appreciate, sounds very much like the exercise of creating personas, which is different.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about target market, like industry, geography, other demographics that are interested in what we do. But I then need one or several personas to be like, okay, but then who do I sell to, and what is that buyer like, and what are their characteristics because you will find a great degree of variation from one company to the other within a target market. You'll find different corporate postures. You'll find different, individual postures. And sometimes they might be well suited for what you offer and even ready to buy it.
Yeah.
But if the persona is not your buyer, then your personas help you filter out for the bad client and allow you to move on to focus energies on somebody else in the same target market that is a better fit for your culture and your way of solving problems and producing.
Absolutely. Once you've done this exercise of defining your target market, test it. That's really important as well. Run a sort of 30-60 day sprint on it, get 40 to 60 named accounts that you're going to target. If it works, if it doesn't, adjustments, learn from it, use it as part of that learning, and this constant evolution of that due to those market factors and other factors and pressures as well is very important. If you'd like to know any more about this or any other topic that we talk about, then you can go to tandtimbits.com, where you can find many ways to get in touch with us or listen to old episodes where you may find a gem of information and a tool that you can use in your business to become even more successful. Until next time, thank you very much.
Next time. Thanks, Andy.